Hello, everybody. This is Barbara Beckley, co-founder of Celebrate You Women's Group, and I also am over the Saturday Sunday spotlight interview. And I had to say this because, first of all, this is our first one that we had since 2019, and I'm just so excited because we have an awesome lady that I'm going to introduce you to, and you're going to learn a lot about her that you're going to be like, oh my God. Now everybody knows me. I call all the women's queens, and she is a wonderful queen I'm going to be interviewing today. So let me read her bio so you get to know who she is before we get into our little conversation. Cornelia Brown, CEO and founder of Red Rose Conquerors Marketplace Ministry, has been a passionate and successful entrepreneur and multi-business owner for over 30 years. Her marketplace ministry allows her to conduct business coaching for new entrepreneurs. Additionally, Mrs. Brown is a life coach and regularly helps others who are in need of encouragement. She and her team gives monthly financial support to an orphanage in India. Likewise, contributes are made to assist with clothing and food for the homeless in Atlanta, Georgia. Ms. Brown is also an advocate and award-winning author and speaker for the needs for the multiracial and multicultural family. It is truly an honor to have Ms. Cornelia Brown on the Celebrate You Sharing Spotlight interview. Lady, how are you doing?
I am doing absolutely awesome. Guten Abend, like we say in Germany.
Oh my God, I love it. Now, how do you say it again? I'm loving this.
Guten Abend, good evening.
Guten Abend. Oh, see? Now I'm going to have to call you after this and get some lessons. Love it.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure to be on.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you again for being on the Spotlight interview. And I'm telling you, we always get the women that are just, out there power packed and doing their thing and really making an impact in people's life. And that's what you do. That's what you truly do. We got to know each other, and I'm so glad that you can be on this Spotlight interview. So I just want to kind of just dive into it here. So, this month we're celebrating Women's History Month. And with your message concerning diversity and, connected with your platform to improve women around the world, how would that message go towards, the women around the world at this time?
Well, I have been married for 40 years to an absolutely incredible young man, I call him, from Tuskegee, Alabama, and go figure to have a couple, the lady from the mountains in Germany and the young man from Tuskegee, Alabama. It gave us an inside view of how the world really saw it back then over 40 years ago. But you know what? Last year, who got married, in the royal house in England? There was some few shakeups, and there's some shakeups right now. So sometimes we think, oh, this was 40 years ago, some of the things that they have gone through and experienced. But you know what? Even now, today, there are some things that people really have to take a closer look at and see where can they make a difference. We want to celebrate our amazing all shades and flavors, I always call it. But what we also want to do is make a difference where it's needed and not just tolerate, but accept. And I always tell people that's a big difference.
Wow, awesome. 40 years, wow, that's a lot. Oh my God, congratulations for that.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations for you and your husband. So with that, being in an interracial marriage, and from another country, because you're from another country, what awarenesses did you have to gain, and within yourself to expand your awareness, whole? Because I know you had to deal with some different things with that, right?
Absolutely. I share with people all the time, I did not grow up in a diverse community. I grew up in what you call a monoracial environment. So I had absolutely no idea about the civil rights movement. I didn't even know who Martin Luther King was. And go figure, God has a sense of humor. he put me right in the middle of a historical city called Tuskegee, Alabama, how, that is full of civil rights movements. And I had to learn. So at first, in Europe, it is pretty much accepted, but there are some pockets, especially in the monoracial communities, where people are afraid of different. And that's usually what it is. Being afraid of different is a very dangerous thing, because it's one thing not to know, but it's another thing to remain ignorant by choice.
You're right.
So when I came over to the United States, I was like, oh, we are going to be accepted everywhere. Everyone's going to celebrate our diversity. And then my husband got stationed in Louisiana. Oh, yes. And this is where the first time in my life I saw the Ku Klux Klan. Now, let me tell you how ignorant I was. I saw a burning cross, and I thought, because I grew up Catholic, and now I'm a non-denominational Christian, but I grew up Catholic and we always burned something. So I thought we were having a great celebration of some sort. And my husband had to sit me down, and I began to fear for my life. First time ever. I never been shot at. I came from a very, very privileged background, but my privilege has been revoked when I came over here. So, when we talk about white privilege, it's revoked. So now I had to live a different life, and it really was very, very heart-changing for me, if such a word.
Wow. I mean, that's, just to, leave an area that you're used to, you grew up in and stuff, and you kind of, in that lane there, and you kind of, and then you come to a whole different, like a flip-flop. And then to really think that, you just want everybody to, just be inviting and love. And then all of a sudden you come, you're like, oh, well, that's not it. In fact, it's even 10 times than what you thought. So, I had to commend you and your husband for really sticking in there and saying, you know what, we're more than the people that are so ignorant, because I come from, a lot of people don't know, but I come from a multiracial marriage, and my mother was Black and my father was white. So they had to deal, especially in the 50s and 60s, it was really hard, on them. And his privileges was revoked too. I mean, his whole family basically just disowned him, period. They said, if you're gonna marry her, and especially when they had me, they really was, it was bad. And it's sad when family just totally says, we're not no longer gonna talk to you, we're not gonna be in your world anymore. So I know you had to deal with all, those different levels, and then you're still so strong, and that's why I said I just honor you, commend you for that. So, you hear people say, I'm colorblind, you hear people say that, but we know, the truth is people that we're different. We have different colors, different minorities. How can we become in a society that can embrace and accept the differences? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, you said something very powerful. You said embrace and accept. And this is what I'm warning people. Tolerance is not embracing and accepting. So you can have an environment where people come together and they tolerate each other because they must, because they have to, because it is required. But acceptance comes from the heart. So, yes, you are right. And, I used to say I'm colorblind. Actually, I'm not. I quite enjoy my husband's walnut color. I enjoy my youngest daughter being mixed with latte, that have that milk colored je ne sais quoi going on. And then my older daughter had, everyone has their own shade and flavor. And when I began to learn that even within the African-American family, there are different shades and flavors. My mother-in-law, when I saw her the first time, she's my skin color. And not only that, fire red hair. And so I was very confused initially, but I enjoyed it so much because in that large family, you had every hue And this is what people are not understanding. When they only tolerate, they only go to here.
Yeah.
They never go to here. They never get to know the person. This is what I always told my daughters. One of the things that people used to tell me in Europe, okay, if you're going to marry a Black man, at least don't have any children. They will not know who they are. And so one of the things is I'm a believer. I hope it's okay to say this here. I'm a believer. So it's not just who you are, but whose you are. And so I taught my children to be deeply rooted in Christ, but not just that. I told them, you are what you make out of yourself. And don't you ever use anything as an excuse not to be your best self. And I have a great report. They are incredible young women. One is a doctor, the other one is in luxury real estate. And then I have the best grandchildren ever, and they have a shade and flavor too. And I'm telling you, the world is a beautiful place when you accept and embrace, like you said.
I love how you said that. So well put. You know, like you said, one thing is to tolerate. Now, you know, we tolerate things because, you know, like you said, it's like sometimes we have to. Like at my job, I have to tolerate some things because I'm working there and I'm getting paid for it. I'm like, okay, as long as it's not, you know, going about against anything. But when you take it to the next step and say, you know what, no, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to be more aware of it. I want to understand. I want to just, you know, accept it for what it is and appreciate people. So that's a whole nother, you know, take on it, like you said. And a lot of people, they don't take the time. I mean, do you, you know, when you talk to people, do you see that, you know, because it seems like people are so like doing so much like nowadays, especially nowadays too, so busy. So they sometimes don't take the time out just to learn and just see what another person's about. They take it face value sometime, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, well, I know there's a soon released book coming out calling Black and White Makes Brown, right?
Well, that's two. Black and White Makes Brown. The first edition has been out for 10 years. It's actually our 10th anniversary.
Oh.
And so many people asked me to write a part two. And I told them I need to first experience part two before I can write part two. Okay. So we have Black and White Makes Brown. As soon as I turned 50, I wanted to write and release what I saw, what I experienced. Okay. And now the next 10 years is how, you know, what's the evolution of where we're going with this? Where is humanity going with embracing one another? And living in the South, in Georgia, okay, you know, there are still some things that you have to consider. And let me tell you, 1 month ago, a gentleman that was in politics in Georgia was removed from his position because he said that interracial marriages make his skin crawl. He said it on TV. He said it loudly. 2 years ago was the first integrated prom in one of the southern cities in Georgia. I was floored. How can that be? That was in 2018.
Yeah.
In Mississippi last year, a judge refused to marry an interracial couple. Said, I'm not going to do it. I am not with that. This is going to be a disaster. Here we are in 2020. And you know what? Can I tell you something really sad?
Yeah, yes, please do.
Separation and segregation is trying to make its way back. And if we don't do something about it,
so right.
And I don't believe in different races. Let me tell you, that's why I always said different shades and flavors. I believe there's one race, and that's the human race. When we cut ourselves, you and I, we bleed red blood. And we are sisters in a journey of we experience our own things, our own, you know, joys, our own hurts and pains. And, you know, we need to speak out and speak up so we can make a difference.
Yes, you are so right. I always tell people, I said, I bleed the same blood you bleed. I love how you said that because I say that a lot to people. I said, we're no different. I mean, we're human. It's a human race, not black, not white, not Puerto Rican, not Mexican. It's human. We're human race. So we need to really, just look at that. And like you said, I feel like things are flipping like back in the day, like you said, in the 60s and stuff, dealing with the civil rights movement and stuff. And now it's like we're going through that cycle again where it's coming back around, which is scary. It's very scary to see that's happening in 2020, like you just said. So now with the book, now I want to just ask you with the book, what were you hoping for, that when you were writing the book, what did you want it to do for the audience, for the people that's reading the book?
I wanted people to get an inside peek, because a lot of people make a judgment call on something that they don't know anything about. I am not in your skin. I am not African American. So I can only speak from what I see from the outside. You experience it every single day from the inside, from being you. Same thing with a multicultural marriage. I invite people to hear what I go through as what people call a Caucasian woman married to an African American male. Invite you in what he goes through. For example, we are in the real estate industry. We have had people that refuse to work with us because we are a multicultural couple. So I am somewhat of a renegade. So I immediately would say, well, I don't work with them. I don't work with anyone that doesn't want to work with me. My husband said, you need to be quiet. You let me know when I walk in not to come over and speak to you. I hated that so much. And he said, and then we close on the house. And I come to the closing. After it's closed, after all the documents are signed, and give you the biggest kiss right in front of everyone. And so, again, what I was hoping to do is give people a look inside. What am I experiencing? For example, I just have to do it. I don't know if you guys can see. This is my youngest granddaughter. This is what, her name is Macy. This is what I know as a white grandma if I come and pick her up at school. That the little children her age are going to see, wait a minute, this grandma doesn't match her skin color. So now when she goes back the next day, she's going to have to be able to stand her ground, and she's going to have to be able to be and she is, let me tell you, she calls me Oma, and she's a little civil rights for the multicultural family. No one said anything about her Oma. But also, I wanted to bring awareness to our civil rights movement. Mr. and Mrs. Loving is the most amazing movie that you ever see. And that Mr. and Mrs. Loving changed in 1967 the laws of the land, of this land, that Black and white is allowed to be married. Before that, they got arrested and they were charged, not with a misdemeanor, but with the highest level of crime to be committed. And because of that couple, everything changed. Because of them, my husband and I were allowed to be married. And real quick, I did not realize when we got married in Alabama in 1979, that the laws were still, Alabama refused to take that law off their books. And they did not take it off until 2004.
Wow.
So
still,
I said, quick, we need to renew our vows. We may not be legally married. And he said, you're so silly. So, but we did. Another great reason to have another wedding all over again.
Just celebrate a wonderful union all over again.
All over again.
Wow, I just love your tenacity and just how you just, you stick to your guns. You are just so like, I believe in this and I don't care. See, that's the kind of attitude that I've been talking to other ladies about and the other co-founders that Celebrate You is that, are you ready to move? Like when something that we're fighting for are you ready to stand and just not say, well, you know what, I'll let the other lady do it. That's okay. I'm good right here. I believe in what you're doing, but I'm going to stand back. Are you ready to say, you know what, I'm going to take a stand, and anything that comes towards it, are you ready to take that? Because it's going to take some hard, like some things you might not like, some things that people are not going to like what you're saying. But in order to make a change, what do you do, right? What do you have to do? Are you ready to take that stand? And you've been taking it. I'm just loving it. You're just taking that stand and making an impact. So with that, I was going to say, what would be like the one takeaway that you would give for the women and Celebrate You, and just just the world period? What one takeaway would you give us?
Well, first of all, we want to empower our beautiful fellow queens, like you say out there. And I want to remind you that you already are amazing. You already are incredible. You already are equipped and empowered to do and be everything that you want to be. Now, here's the key. You can keep it locked up inside and take it with you to the graveyard. You know, there's a saying, the most wealthy place is the graveyard, when all the gifts and talents were buried in there. So woman of God out there, whatever shade and flavor you are, you unlock your incredibleness. And you know what? We are here to undergird you, to pray for you, to empower you, to lock arms and go and stand with you. So like the Army says, since my husband is retired Army, be all that you can be, and you are approved. You don't have to wait for human approval, because God approved you already.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Queen.
Thank
Now,
you.
just let them know where they can contact you, and we'll also make sure that information is going to be up at the caption when we put your spotlight interview on.
I put my phone number out there so you guys can text me or email me at cornelia.brown@yahoo.com. You can find me on Facebook under Brown Cornelia, and our website is under construction, and it's going to come out even better than before. So for now, just text me. Let's just have a chat, and whatever you need. If you need some prayer, if you need some undergirding, or if you just want to cry and be upset and mad a little and release, and then we go on and be the positive, force and the women of light that we have been created to be.
Thank you so much, so much. So everybody, you heard that, you can contact this wonderful queen if you need that particular, if you just need to know more information. She's a life coach. She's a speaker. She's a winning author. So with all that, you have a lot of credibility within her. So I just want everybody to always remember, as we say in Celebrate You, love yourself, embrace yourself, and whatever you do, celebrate you. Thank you, Queen.
Thank you. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.